Welcome to Season 3 of the NAC 4 Business Podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your NAC 4 business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Fransgrote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motivate-U Inc.
Today's topic is a key to business success, collaboration and community. How can you grow your business faster without feeling isolated or overwhelmed? That's what our guest is all about today. Sandra Saric from Hive. Sandra is a visionary leader shaping the future of professional collaborations through Hive, a global membership club with a strong presence in Ottawa. With 25 years of expertise in business strategy, workforce development, and innovation, she understands the success is built on relationships, shared knowledge, and meaningful connections. At Hive, Sandra has cultivated more than just a workspace. It's a thriving network where entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators come together to grow, learn, and support one another. Passionate about co-creation over competition, she champions an environment where business professionals invest in relationships that drive real impact. Through her work, she's redefining what it means to belong to a business community, ensuring that Hive members don't just work, they thrive. Sandra, welcome. Good to see you on this nice sunny day.
Oh, absolutely. On my end, I've got many of them, but one that stands out for me is "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much" by Helen Keller.
And I also understand Hive has a tagline.
You mentioned Thrive at Hive. We elevate your work, expand your knowledge, enhance your network, energize your experience at Hive.
What inspired the creation of that? What market gap was there?
Yeah, it's interesting. At Hive was actually originally envisioned as a co-working space. When I came on board, I saw an opportunity to build something much bigger, something much more meaningful for business professionals. And so over the past few years, I noticed a growing challenge. Many professionals were lacking that true sense of community. I found myself going to networking events. It was becoming transactional. People were making connections, but not building relationships. Through that, I really wanted to change that. Both virtually, because some people just can't come into a space. I wanted to create something where we could not just network, but actually really collaborate, learn, and grow together. The goal was to build something beyond workspaces, beyond events. And so this is how we prompted at Hive to create a membership club designed for business professionals worldwide, where they can be part of something bigger. At Hive, it's not just about who you meet. It's about how those connections can help you thrive and help your business thrive.
Sandra, you obviously have a new vision for what networking could be. Tell me about your new vision.
At the end of the day, it's evolved from the business card exchange to authentic relationship building and collaboration. In the past, it was all about like, how many contacts can we get and showing the list of business cards. But as things change now, we're really looking at how do we strategically connect? How do we create opportunities and long-term partnerships, sustainable partnerships, and trust? And especially as we head into hybrid work and more digital relationships in business, having an intentional network is more important now, because that's where we'll really be able to find resources, build, gain industry insights, and also stay relevant. We can get into our own little zone in this world, and being able to build those relationships help give us that edge in terms of what's coming down the pipeline in innovation.
So what's new for startups? How it's done differently now, and what has been done to smooth the flow?
In terms of smoothing the flow, I think it's not so much new for startups. I think it's more about how can startups more effectively engage. Because simply in startups, you're so busy doing, right? You're so busy in it and living the experience that sometimes you miss out on the knowledge you can gain from others. So the ways that you can speed up through learning, speed up like successes and failures, right? Like startups will fail many times before they succeed. And entrepreneurs will fail many times before they succeed. The more you can connect, the more you can see the challenges that might be ahead of you and get exposure to new ideas, because we can also get really small in our thinking and when you're in it, right? And I think that's really for startups, it's that opportunity to engage with peers, engage with others who've maybe been there, who've trailblazed as you trailblazed, and really seeing how, you know, that whole concept of being vulnerable. You have to expose yourself a little bit to grow. through this and through creating strategic networking, you're not going to do that in a networking event. But the more you create those quality relationships, you create these intimate networking opportunities where you can really share and build your startup.
Can you describe the lay of the land at Hive? I know you have a bistro. Breaking bread with somebody sometimes is a good way to build community, right? You're eating, you're more relaxed. What other resources are available to people that come and knocking?
The way we envisioned and built Hive was on 4 pillars: work, learn, connect, and balance. And so the work is really about what can we do to help businesses, business owners, leaders work more productively, engage to strategically grow. Learn. We're in a time that lifelong learning is so critical. I'd say it was always critical, but it's ever more critical now with AI and what's happening with how fast things are moving. We're creating opportunities to build learning series. We've got a new one coming up on AI and sales, but we're going to keep doing things that really are targeted to business professionals' pain points in terms of learn. Connect. Well, this is a lot of what we're talking about today. Building community and building connections that are essential for any kind of business that you do these days. Even cross-sectoral relationships, right? Learning from peers in other sectors and what they've done. Connect is really a key part at Hive. And the last one, Bernie, you mentioned at Bistro. A big part of this is you can work, but there has to be balance. There has to be this opportunity to take a break, to be creative, go to the restaurant, hang out in the lobby, play pool. We've got that if you're in Ottawa. We're going to go for walks every couple of weeks and focus on health and well-being, because I think we're at a critical time where many of us are burnt out and especially in the startup and entrepreneurship world. And so how do you engage and create opportunities in one place where they can get a little bit of all of these things, but also pay attention to taking a break? The more you can rest your mind, the more those creative juices can flow.
40 years ago, the dream was to leave your cell phone and your business card to actually sign an expensive lease so you can prove you're a big shot, and maybe even hire a secretary who you have to pay $30,000 or $40,000 a year. I find this co-working and what you brought with the at Hive value added a much more seamless process. Do you sense that too?
Oh, absolutely. I think the way that people work has changed, right? It was just the 40-hour week and this is how it is. And all of a sudden it's like the 70-hour week and it's the 4-day week and the 1-day week and the 4-hour week. So what we realize is people work differently. We wanted to create a very flexible way of working at Hive. For example, if people want to come in with a client for an hour, you can rent an office space for an hour, even a meeting room. It's not a must be dedicated and must do this. And if they want to plug in remotely and still connect with community, it's really about like, how do we plug and play whatever works best for our members and the people that we're connecting with and helping with. You could do a commute that's 2 hours, or just connect in and not do that. If you need to see people because you're isolated and need some motivation, it's that opportunity to come in for a bit and hang out or do focused work, whichever way that you want to do that. But that's really, we've seen that shift of how people work and how they want to work. And so we're trying to create that. And I think that's so important to be able to provide people that when they want to work, they can work. When they want to play, they can play. When they want to connect, they can connect, and to really shift that for them.
I'm really encouraged the way you brought back the water cooler. That's one thing I missed about being a solopreneur, is there's nobody to talk to, and it was incredibly lonely. I sense there's some really good shoulder, like mixing. You've got something there at Hive that's cool.
Thank you. I think in addition to that, we always talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think that's real when it comes to entrepreneurship. If you're at home and isolated, you are missing out on opportunities because you're not hearing about them. You may not be getting as many referrals, partnerships, sales, or knowing that there's a whole other sales pipeline that you didn't even know existed. That sort of alone factor can get isolating, can make it difficult. Fewer learning opportunities because you're busy doing, you're not out there and seeing what else is. So less exposure, and that means less exposure to new ideas. And for those of you with a gym membership, right? Like how many of us, I'm guilty, have a gym membership and never go? until somebody says, hey, I'll meet you there. And then all of a sudden I have to go because someone is meeting me there. Accountability. Like the one thing I find that working alone, the struggle is you're only accountable to yourself. And not many people are very good at that. Because what happens is everybody will call and you start helping them on something. And you start derailing from your own mission and what you're trying to do. Coming back to places like at Hive can also create a way for you to be accountable for the things you want to accomplish. So it's that push and that motivation that can drive us again as we go in our desire for growth.
Have you had the accidental joint venture yet, where two people just happened to be at the same place at the same time? It turned out that they each could bring something to a table in a new joint venture?
You know, when you mentioned it, we are just getting started. Our focus is on connecting professionals in meaningful ways and really looking at how we can create avenues for collaboration. So where we're at right now is, I think, creating that platform. Members are engaging. We're seeing collaboration. We're seeing people talk about new ideas. We're seeing, hey, I never thought of this. Have we signed joint ventures? Not necessarily yet, but we have a few of our members who have brought products to on site with the clean tech sector side of things, and being able to showcase and demo. And so that's where we're at right now. We're testing, like the whole thing about a Hive is creating a membership experience and a membership journey where the members come with us. With all of this, I envision joint ventures. I envision growth. I envision all these opportunities. Our role is really, how do we create that platform to be able to do that? And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the engagement happening. We're seeing the collaboration. We're seeing people come through the doors and say, hey, this is cool. We're doing this. And maybe this is an opportunity for you too. We're a little early, but we are starting joint ventures with some of the members. So these are some of those things but we're in the stage of throw a bit of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks for what the opportunities for our members.
You mentioned the remote and other elements of spaces to access. What type of infrastructure is around? Because sometimes there are some spaces, some businesses, the network infrastructure around it is unfortunate. Too many people are on the internet all at the same time. All the way around to the network switch just went down. And if you have a VoIP phone, then on goes the complications. What type of infrastructure is there that makes it super easy, convenient on site as well as to come in remote in? Like what resources are available for people to tap into?
Well, Bernie, that's a great question. Our founders are Link Corp, an IT and telecom services company. The building was part of the vision of Elastalink to be able to have a data center on site and have all sort of technology available. And at Hive sort of part of At Hive spun up with the uniqueness that we can provide technology services and internet services, which that then means high speed. In January, we had a full house for an entire month, and no comments on Wi-Fi challenges or any of this. And I think that is because the backbone of at Hive really sits with strong IT technology team that help on every turn and make sure that everything's running. But that also means that members that come on board who may have needs or want to host in the cloud or have cloud services or storage can actually leverage services that make a holistic experience. And that fits that kind of work pillar. How do you work more productively if you can have everything on site? If anything goes down, we have a whole tech team that's on site, which can really answer, which you're not having to call tech support. We walk to tech support and say, we need some help.
So I guess the best way to look at it then, it's all in Canadian dollars, it's all Canadian. And so you don't have to worry about any external economic influences.
Data center, your data is protected here. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I was joking yesterday, we were in a meeting and I said at Hive, made in Canada, because I think that's such an important thing with what's happening politically and economically these days.
Sounds like a honey of an idea.
Are you hearing many regional offices shutting down their site because it's poorly used and using you instead?
We see this concept of the co-working space. We're in Ottawa, so a lot of government work has shifted this way. They've closed offices and towers and moved to remote work with the option of staff being able to go into like co-working spaces like at Hive. And so we are seeing that and that opportunity to leverage. And that's, again, we're not short on co-working spaces. What we're trying to do is say, okay, what else can we do beyond that? How do we, as a membership club, nurture what you're trying to be and do as a remote worker? How else can we help you? In addition to you being in our space, what else can we do to make your work as efficient as possible, as enjoyable as possible through this? And so, yeah, we are seeing that. We are seeing shifts in reduction of space, but then we're also seeing the opposite, where people are having to go back into the office and work. And so one of the fun things that we're doing is saying, okay, if you need to do that, maybe you can use this as a satellite. So you're still going to work, but you might not be going to that office. I know a lot of people that over the last few years moved out of city that now commute in and that have to take 3 buses. And if you could also go into an office, it doesn't need to necessarily be your traditional office. This is something that we're starting to see as well, that some members are coming in this way, where they're saying, I'm still going to work. And I think that's really neat because you get to experience different members with different knowledge, different advice. I always find when you learn from diverse perspectives, you're going to gain more out of that. That's one of the reasons I like what we're forming here, is because it creates that opportunity to have different players coming together.
I think it's interesting you mentioned having diverse groups. Sometimes it's almost like doing crowdsourcing. There was a company and they ended up having a group of people. One was a mechanic, one was a physician from different industries. And the person would show up and say, this is my thing, my mousetrap. And you would get different takes on it from their perspectives, which different lenses. That diversity piece is key and critical, especially in your startup. Fly little one, you toss it in the air and it flutters and doesn't fly hard and fast. How do I make it fly? And you get different opinions on that. So you're providing then, if I take it correctly, a median space where this growth can happen. Your plan may have been to go left. Actually, the best plan is to go. Do you foresee that then also being available? Like speaking of the clean technology, right? Show up, to go, hi, this person does this, and then in the process find out that person's also a good connection for me for another project, right? The cross purpose. Primary purpose gets taken care of, and then it evolves from there. Is the infrastructure, is the space.
Oh, yeah. That's my dream scenario, right? I've always told teams I've worked with in the past, when I've managed teams, innovation and ideas happen when diverse perspectives collide. I believe that. And I think at Hive, really want to focus in on bringing together professionals from different industries, different backgrounds, different experiences. That brings fresh ideas. That brings breakthrough solutions, whether people are coming from other countries, whether we're connecting to other people in other countries and networking. That's how we innovate. If we all look the same, talk the same, walk the same, do the same thing, have been raised the same, have thought the same, have been educated the same, you're going to have the same answers for everything, right? You're not going to be able to be like creative. I like how you said there's an accountant sitting there or a tech founder or the marketer. Everyone's going to look at the problem differently and look at solutions differently. Having multiple viewpoints is really good. When you're looking at a challenge, having people come at it from different ways ensures all angles are looked at. That's where you get that edge. I think diversity creates opportunity. And I always introduce that in teams throughout my career, because I think it's such an important aspect to be constantly ahead of the game.
Sandra, I truly understand having a club sandwich at the bistro with a client and the touch and feel and handshake. I also understand opening up my laptop and zooming in where they can't see the second bedroom or the bed's not made or the dog's not barking. There's been a lot of talk about hybrid work, where they combine both the Zoom and the in-person. Are you hearing, is that more of a theme? Is that more of a concept in reality, or is that what's coming?
I think it's already here. I think it will continue to rise. I think we're going to see ebbs and flows. You have massive businesses now choosing, please come back to work or stay at home. And then you see this in between. I think the in between is most likely where most of business will land. We'll continue to see it. A lot of people have actually hired remotely over the few years when we had to work from home. People said, hey, I don't need to hire in the city. I can expand my talent search. As a result, that's also created hybrid work. I do think that as we continue, there's going to be a blurred line between in-person interaction and virtual interaction. Virtually, we're on Zoom like we are now and saying, hey, I want to meet in person. But at the same time, the great opportunity that digital can bring, it allows us to be connected. So whether you're working remotely and digitally connected or in person, you're building strong relationships and the ability to see each other and spend that. You might have to do a virtual handshake, but I think it's still really critical. I do think that hybrid work will continue to rise, especially as startups try to minimize costs, and a lot of small businesses, unless you're a service industry, those are really high costs in the past that now had to eliminate rent. And so again, it comes back to come to at Hive for $10 and meet with a client versus having to spend a significant amount of money. I'd rather see businesses invest that money back into the business to be able for it to grow than to have to spend so much on administration to be less efficient.
Let's assume I'm an electrical contractor and I've been a solopreneur and I want to expand. Somebody gets to your front door and says, Bernie said I had to come meet you. Walk me through what you tell him about what he gets out of being in a community.
Sure. The first thing I'd start with would be to ask him what his pain points are. Sharing what we're doing is irrelevant if you don't know what they're coming for. I've always been huge on understanding what brought them there, what's the problem they're facing, because that's usually what brought somebody to meet with us. There's a recognition that something is missing. I always like to sit down and better appreciate and understand. And the nice thing with a Hive is we customize to what might be the most beneficial for you. We have 3 tiers of membership. We have standard benefits of things across our pillars that we want to help with. But at the end of the day, everything needs to work for everyone. I would first ask the pain points, then try to understand what they feel they could give and how they can contribute to the community. The biggest piece for me is a lot of people come and join to figure out what's in it for them, not what's in it for others by them being there. So in this case, he's an electrical contractor. There probably are opportunities from being a solopreneur, having to fight to survive in an environment of competition, in a trade space, having to grow, to find talent, because that's very hard to find in trades. So he may be challenged finding staff, right? Or finding contractors or apprentices. I've been through this, so maybe his story to tell of the challenges he's faced in finding talent could be something that he provides value to others who may also be going through that, as just an example. But that's such an important thing. That's the vibe for at Hive. It's not a, hey, we're going to bring you more sales by joining us. It's how can we meaningfully contribute to your business and what you're doing professionally and personally, and then how can you contribute back so we create this handshake together.
I remember having a conversation with you and asking who's the target audience or who would be best fit. Obviously being in Ottawa helps, right?
For the co-working side of things, yes.
Yeah. But what other groups are you looking for to bring in that sometimes don't view themselves as a business, but not in the sense of a small, medium business? Who else is out there that would be a good fit? This is a good place to flourish.
I think part of that initial conversation when we talked about community, I really felt that there were a lot of people within business professionals who don't have community from, say, even immigrant entrepreneurs. As an example, like there are more and more growing ones for women in startups, but persons with disabilities, very limited networks for business professionals. I always looked at it from an inclusive perspective. It's an interesting thing because it's who do you pick? Who do you say? To me, I think it's more about how do we ensure that we create opportunities for inclusion and belonging across the spectrum, from mom and pop shops to the solopreneur, to the entrepreneur. Maybe they're doing well, but they want to connect with peers who've been there and done that, to the CEOs, the executives, to a remote worker. I think at the end of the day, this is, as we grow this and as at Hive continues to go Ottawa beyond, really that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping that people can create their own collectives at Hive and find that sense of belonging. Meetup groups who are connecting virtually can connect in person, backed by some of the work we're doing at Hive. Various stakeholder groups, various sectors, sales, real estate, all these groups that sometimes don't have a place to connect or aren't connecting because they're just busy doing. How can we do that? So it's quite diverse, let's say, in terms of who it is, but ultimately the founders, the entrepreneurs, that's why we said for business professionals, like that's that. We've created a big web. And my hope is that through this big web, we can create big connections and a massive ecosystem that can help people, but at the same time, quality over quantity in terms of the relationship they establish. So Bernie, I've talked around your answer because I think it's quite vast. And I think it'll take on a life of its own as people start coming through the doors. And I think that's really going to let us know who really needs this. We have a good sense, but the electric contractor we may not have thought of shows up at our door, female or male. I'd love to have more female tradespersons because I think that those are definitely phenomenal women who need support networks. I've known this from my past career, working a lot with women in tech.
So as a podcaster, I am very interested in podcasting. And I think a disproportionate amount of our audience is toying with podcasting. You have a podcasting studio. Tell me more.
We sure do. We have our creative studio. We've really tried to create an environment that the creatives can come in and play. It's probably the quietest space in our room. We brought some tech in to elevate that experience for our creative studio. And we're always looking for, as more of our members come in and want to edit or do other things, like that ability to bring in some software and things along those lines to be able to do that. From podcasts through to potential video editing, things along those lines. We'll keep building that. We brought in a studio for that. We also have a quiet room with a fancy massage chair. What was really important that comes back to a balance, right? We always need to take a break, and sometimes you just need a moment. We wanted to create a space where if someone needs to take a moment, you can zone out, put some headphones on, and relax for a little bit. All these things, right? From the creative studio through to quiet rooms, through to collab space where we're all connected to the other offices, things like that. We've tried to create a little bit of everything as we go.
Any new projects on the horizon that are getting ready to be released?
Yeah, we have a new learning series. We're calling it Microburst Learning. We're looking at 30-minute high-impact learning sessions with experts in the field. It's a series, and there'll be 5 sessions per series, once a month, over lunch, online. This will attract both our international and across Canada and Ottawa opportunities. We're really opening the doors for that larger group in our global network. And we're starting with sales series and an AI series, simply because those two are really like some of the most critical. Like a lot of people struggle, especially in the startup world. So we've created some interesting themes in those series and are bringing experts together. There'll be an opportunity as well to do some live Q&A, bring some really tips. We're looking at people don't have time for long learning sessions, right? These offer affordable, low-cost opportunities for really some great insight, fast and furious, and then some opportunity to ask those Q&As. So that's coming down the pipeline in the next month. We're also exploring more in terms of corporate memberships. So that's something we want to be able to help, in addition to individual members, really start to create some customized opportunities for corporate members who may need a bit more. So those are some of a few. And meetups, of course, we're going to start doing as our members come on board, we're going to start doing kind of some informal socials and meetups and things like that as we go.
Sandra, 3 questions. 1, how do we reach you? 2, is there any way to check things out digitally on the internet? And C, what's your starting price? Where do things start with getting involved with Hive?
Sure. To reach us, hive.com is the website. LinkedIn is probably one of the best ways. Just look up at Hive on LinkedIn. We've just started Instagram, so reaching us that way. We're also in person, 1745 Courtwood Crescent in Ottawa in Carlington Park, if someone wants to just drop on by and visit us. People are, of course, welcome to find me on LinkedIn just by typing in my name. Happy to also engage with you and do a walkthrough. The first starts at $39.95 a year. The really cool thing about it, this early bird piece, is we're actually giving away 2 promo codes of $30 each. as part of that starter membership. We really didn't want to create barriers to people being able to come on board and join us. And we really wanted people to have the opportunity to check out the space. As members come on board, we also have a core and premium, which are a little bit more elevated packages in terms of offering credits to use the space. If you know you're going to be using the space more often, more access to exclusive events and things along those lines. We'll have a bit more one-on-one with us in terms of their needs and looking at how we can optimize what they do. The Ad Bistro is open to the public. So we encourage you to also come and check out Ad Bistro, hang out in the lobby, and just get a sense of the vibe as you look to engage in potential becoming a member.
The Vibe at Hive.
Yeah.
I believe they also do catering.
Yeah, absolutely do catering. And I think that's one of the really cool things is if you're interested in having a meeting, we have a conference area and 2 meeting rooms, a conference room, boardroom, as well as a little huddle room that sits about 6 or 7. We've done holiday parties. You can do training sessions in our collab space. It's really multifaceted, customizable spaces for you as members to host retreats, work parties, or focus groups. It's quite adjustable and customizable. And what's neat about that is it also means that you get some delicious food that you can do in catering as part of that option. And Ad Bistro also caters out. So if there are businesses who just want to leverage the food at this stage, they're welcome to also contact Ad Bistro and they'll deliver this delicious food.
The one thing I discovered, because I have ordered some food to take home, A, it's a chef that's making the food. B, it's fresh. C, the flavor. Oh, the flavor. And
yeah.
me being the skinny guy that I'm not, I ate well.
Yeah. Sometimes I tell people I work here. And so, of course, you want to promote, but there hasn't been a dish I haven't liked. I'm honest. People know me to be honest. I have told them when I didn't like something and they shifted things or added things, but having a chef I think the approach we took at Bistro in bringing a chef on board and really wanting to make sure the food is good, because that's a make or break a lot of times. To be able to have breakfast and lunch and just start your day and you've got it there and you don't have to worry about it. I'm with you, Bernie. It's not the greatest for many of our waistline, but it's delicious food.
That it is. I want to say thank you to Sandra Saric, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. This has piqued your curiosity. You want to get into a community yes, so there's a place to actually roost if you need to. You need to do a collaboration event. You need to host an event. You need to have a bite to eat. It's all there in one big package. But more importantly, it's a community. Reach out to Sandra and the team. They'll be glad to walk you around and do a taste test, so to speak.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, Wayne@motive8uca. That is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca, or his website, Motive8uca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motive 8U Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack 4 Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.